Here today we're going to be talking about Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, the final book in the Sci-Fi September series. I did finish this in September. I read it in one day on the 30th of September because it's really easy to read. I haven't reviewed it until now because if you expect consistency from this channel, mate, you're in the wrong place. So, Sleeping Giants, what's it about? Is it any good? Let me tell you. Take a little seat and I'll tell you. I've got a swivel chair now, by the way. Isn't that fun? So, Sleeping Giants, it is about this group of scientists basically discover this giant hand, like a big metal robot hand, buried underground. And then, like 30 years later, there's a big project to uncover the rest of it, basically, and that's sort of the setup for the novel. It's told in this really cool interview format, so the main character. I don't know. It's another one of those books that's really hard to sort of pinpoint a protagonist as such because it's more like an ensemble cast piece. But the main character that we follow is this unnamed interviewer slash interrogator who basically goes around to the various major players in the story and interviews them about their experiences on the project and what happened at certain points. And yeah, like they're it's told in like an epistolary style, so it's like declassified transcripts of his interviews essentially. So that made the reading experience really fast. I think if you are looking for a quick read, like a fun beach read, this is going to be the one for you because, like, as you can see, if you focus there, so it's essentially like 100% dialogue. There's no long descriptions of things, mainly just dialogue. He does well though in setting a scene and a tone with the interviewees. Like, the interviewees will generally talk about, like, they'll exposit on the environment as naturally as possible in like an interview format. They'll talk about how they reacted to seeing the lab for the first time, like that kind of thing. So you do get a sense of like place and time, but it's not bogged down. Like, the story is constantly being driven along, which is really actually like an interesting technique because there's always this debate, right, in writing groups and so on about show versus tell. Like, how do you show, how do you tell? And what I've come down to is, you show by expositing things through conflict and by driving the story forward, and that's kind of what happens here, sort of with everything. Like, everything that's exposited to you is done through the conflict of the scene and through the experience of the character. So it's all layered in, it's all woven really well together, and it doesn't feel like you're being info dumped to, so you can really just fly through the book. Like, I read it in one day, as I said. It didn't take that long to read, and I'm quite a slow reader, so yeah, good props to that. So the characters themselves, I think, are very good for the most part. There's a few characters that I think experience some major character shifts just sort of out of nowhere, which could have been done a bit better. There are some characters that I wish we'd had more time with, but I think because it is the first book in a trilogy, and it's quite obviously it's one of those books that's like a planned trilogy, obviously, from the start, so it ends on a giant cliffhanger for the second book. So I don't begrudge it too much with not fully developing its characters as much as I would like, because there's 2 more books to go, so I'm sure they'll get something, their arcs will probably finish in those, won't they? So yeah, that's probably one criticism of it as a standalone book, is the character arcs begin and they go pretty well for most of the book, but then they don't quite get the resolution that you would want. They don't wrap up particularly well. There are some characters where it does wrap them up relatively nicely, and then there's some that just sort of left hanging. But that's that's part and parcel with the first book in a trilogy. It's going to happen. So not necessarily a criticism. Yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to say about it. I did really enjoy it, but it's not going to be like, it's not one of those books that is ever going to make it to my all-time great book series, because it is really just like a fun, fluffy kind of read. It's not going to blow your mind. It's very sci-fi tropey. The origins of the machine, like the mystery machine left on Earth, and we don't know where it came from. That's like a big classic sci-fi trope. But I think it's presented in a fun and unique style, where if you're maybe just getting into reading sci-fi and you're not burned out on all these tropes, or if you just want something a bit tropey, because sometimes we just want to read something that's a little bit comfy, a little bit tropey, and I think that's what Sleeping Giants really gives you. It's a fun, quick, comfy little read. It's not difficult, it doesn't blow your mind, it's not game changing, it is what it is. But that's not a bad thing, and I recommend it. If you've not given it a go, definitely do. And yeah, I'll see you next time being essentially whenever I feel like, but probably fairly soon. Maybe even another bonus video, because there's some things to talk about this week. So yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Subscribe and stuff if you want, and bye.